Could you tell me a story? Many boys and girls at night ask their moms and dads that same question. But every time we open up a book, we're asking the book to tell us a story. What that story is a story that speaks to us, and how the story and the illustrations work with it to work with us, to find out what it is we're wanting to learn, or to enjoy, or to travel. So our picture books and our board books and our beginner reader books give that same experience to all of our boys and girls that are starting to read or listening to that story being told to them. Today I have a couple of our experts at the Youth Services Department in the Ames Public Library, partners with me in our Well-Read story, our Well-Read program, our special edition of the best books of 2015. Welcome, Mary Jen.
Thank you.
Welcome, Chris.
Thank you.
And we are going to start out not necessarily with the wonderful things you will be, but let's start out with our board books that we have. And I'm going to just grab the first one and say, hi.
This book by Ethan Long is probably one of the most simple board books you could read. It's simply different animals saying hello to each other. And for some reason, this book is toddler magic. I've had this in a couple of different story times, and they are just fascinated with the pictures and with the great big words, and it's just so, it's a magnet. There's also a companion book called Goodbye, but there is something about this book, and I don't even know that I can say what it is, but toddlers adore this book. It's really fantastic. And they have the different, like the crow says caw, and then the donkey says hee-haw. So they're sort of rhyming. And some of them are a little bit, maybe stretching the line a little bit. Yak says yak. I don't know what a yak says, but it doesn't matter because the kids really love this book, and it's really great.
And they can join in.
They absolutely can.
Yeah, they can say everything with
Absolutely.
you.
Well, speaking of joining in, we have Around the World as well. And this is an excellent book for boys and girls to join in.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's this, I don't know if you can tell, but the sort of mountaintops there, yeah, there's a little trail for little fingers to sort of trace along. And on every spread, there's a different trail for kids to trace. And it's a wonderful participatory book. It's a great way for kids to build that hand-eye coordination as well as working with those fine motor skills that they're going to need when they actually start writing. So it's one of those really fun books that it would be a great read aloud. It's fun for kids to just read by themselves. They can just trace through the story, see what's going on, make up a story in their own heads. It's a really fun one.
And also experience the world around them.
Exactly.
How about Roar Baby, or Roar, Roar Baby?
More animals.
More animals and our sweet little boys and girls. This is a flap book, and the flaps can be somewhat challenging at times.
Good with the hand-eye coordination.
Good hand-eye coordination, because they also go at different times. But they have that peekaboo, that absence of an item and then finding it. And also joining in and participating in the story with the animals as well.
And I think Karen Katz does just such wonderful child faces. I think it appeals a lot to both kids and adults. So they're great.
She's
pictures.
got a lot of different ones. So if you like this one, you'll like her others. Another one that we have chosen here is the poems Lullaby and Kisses Sweet. And Lee Bennett Hopkins has put this together, and he's just kind of the guru of poetry as well. And he's brought some of his poetry down to the toddler and infant level. So wonderful ways of that rhythmic reading aloud to your child and enjoying that interaction as well. And I'm sure there will be many babies and toddlers that will eat this book up, literally. And then how about Red Light, Green Light?
Well, I was going to say, so far you've talked about animals, lots and lots of animals. So we're going to totally switch gears to something very concrete. Red Light, Green Light is a great, I consider more of a toddler book. It talks about all the signs that a child might see from their home to the library or from their home to someplace else. And again, they can follow along with the roads and lift the flaps to see what
Evidently,
they say.
I have troubles with the flaps.
I was asking Anastasia, how old do you have to be before you can sit forward in a car seat? Because you would want to sit forward if you carried this in the car so that you could see those things as you go.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But the book alone promotes so much of your everyday things that the kids are going to notice as you're driving through town and expanding their world. And I thought it would also be a good push for those parents talking to their kids as they pull up to a light. I'm at a red light. Yeah. I'm at a green light, and so on.
And I was thinking that conversation is fabulous, and conversation with your child, but also the print awareness factor. Find this.
Find this.
Can you see
that.
this?
It's beautifully
and
done.
I can see railroad. Or, they'll point to the sign.
Yeah. And see, again, you can follow along the road as they drive along, and they see different things all along the way. It's almost an I Spy type book too. Find the bunnies, find the rabbits.
Yep, and then they've got the signs in front, so you could do that as well.
Easy signs that hopefully everybody will know someday. We don't want to push driving yet.
No, not quite yet. But now these are, we kind of use some library lingo here that we call them board books, and they're board books because they're thicker page and have kind of a plastic cover over them, so your toddlers and your infants can. We laughed at the eating, but that's what your baby does and your toddler does, and then that toddler that's just learning how to turn the pages. This really gives them a successful way of being able to do that without ripping any pages, which we know can happen. So the next step up is then up to our picture books, and we have some picture books. Let's go with one of yours, Mary Jen. So we have the flowers.
Sidewalk Flowers by John Arno Lawson and illustrations by Sydney Smith. And this was my favorite picture book of the year, absolutely. And if the pair hadn't been from Canada, I would have been really hoping that they would have gotten the Caldecott for this one. But this is another one of those wonderful wordless books. And it's sort of this journey of this, we can imagine father and child, and they're sort of going through their day as parents and children do. And it's sort of, the dad has some place to be, and the child wants to, oh, stop, but what's that? And oh, stop and look at this. And the child throughout sees these sidewalk flowers in different places and picks these flowers and then doesn't just keep them, but then redistributes them. And so we can see, there's a dead bird there, and then so the child puts the flowers on the bird, and there's, they run into the dog, and, the dog then has some flowers tucked into the collar. And it's just all these neat ways that the child redistributes the flowers, and then the use of color throughout, I think, is really, they've done it really in a stunning way, because it's a lot more black and white in the beginning, and as you go through the book and through their journey, with the more flowers being picked up, there's more color throughout. And it's one of those really sort of soft stories, a really great bedtime story, but it's also one of the, it would make a really great kind of seek and find book, because there's so many things to look at in the different pages, so many details, that I think this would be really great to sort of read over and over again. It's just a lovely book.
And you talked about the illustrations, the use of color, but I also think when she did the flowers, you had the back end of, you would walk by and then you would see the back of the animal or the back of whatever they gave the flowers to.
The perspective of where
the perspective.
Yeah.
And I think the paying it forward at such a young age, introducing that here she picked the flowers, but she gave them away. She didn't keep them.
Yeah.
I like that it's almost like a graphic novel on pages.
It is.
The way they framed the art, it's like a young child's graphic novel too.
Yeah.
And it was on the New York Times Best Illustrated Book.
It was, yes.
You're not the only one that really likes it. There's lots of people that do. And it's always that, that United States citizen for that Caldecott award is always, there's so many good other authors and illustrators that could win the the United States awards, but we have to limit it somewhere.
Limit it somehow.
Yeah, but a wonderful book. I just think it's such a feel-good book.
It is. It absolutely
So
is.
now you wanted to pair it with this particular book called Wait.
Yes.
Another Wait.
This is really sort of a similar story of, the parent needing to go someplace and the child, oh wait, let's look at this. And this is really great because there are very few words in the book, but there's the continual repetition. So the mom is always saying hurry and the child is always saying wait. And you get to see, you wonder where they're going throughout the story and, oh, what's the child going to look at next? And it's really great, again, sort of a journey story. And then it's one of those when you get to the end, it's like, oh, maybe we should listen to the children more. Maybe there are reasons to pause and reflect and not necessarily rush to get someplace, but take a moment to enjoy the beauty of a double rainbow or something like that. Like it's a really great story, and it's a really nice one for older kids too who are just learning to read because of the repetition of the words. They can look at them and they can continually recognize the word hurry when you point to the word hurry, and they'll be able to read it and sort of build confidence in their reading skills while also reading a really great story.
So wait is very worthwhile waiting for.
Absolutely.
So let's do the night world, because the night world is also all about waiting.
It is about waiting. It's beautifully done. It starts out all in shades of blacks and grays and so on. And close to my heart, it has a cat in it. The little boy goes to sleep and the cat wakes him up. It's like they've just gotten to sleep and the cat wants to go out. And he says it's too early to go out. But they end up getting up and going through the house, which for some little children might seem sort of scary and creepy, but this is done so beautifully. It's just sort of a natural flow. They go through the shadows. The only thing you see really are the eyes of the people that are awake, and as it keeps going, you start to see those shadows change, and there's not a lot of text, but talking about something coming. And so this starts to build a little tension, and pretty soon you're thinking, what's coming? And then they start to give you little clues. You see all the night animals, and everybody's starting to pay attention. And as you get towards the end of the book, you can see that it's starting to get bright, and I wish I was up that early sometimes to see the sunrise. I've never seemed to be at that point in my life. But then, ta-da, look at the beautiful morning, and everybody's singing and happy, and it's just so great this cat got this little boy up. So it was, again, something worth waiting for.
And this last page, I think, is very interesting, too, because the sun's all up, but we can see the animals, the night animals in the outline.
And they've gone to sleep now.
And they've gone to sleep.
They were
So
awake
the whole
now.
cycle of things.
A lot of great conversations can happen with this book too.
Yes, lots of things to point out and see.
And it's fun for the kids to guess what the animals are when they're just in shadow.
Yeah,
and
it's not
before
that high
the actual
contrast,
sun.
so it's not as easy to pick out sometimes.
And I think it's also really neat. The author illustrator is also the author's note says one night when I was 4, I awoke in the dark and I called my father, "Daddy, I have to pee." He carried me to the bathroom, but on the way back we went through the kitchen, out the window where the familiar backyard should have been. I saw a place I had never been before, full of dark shadows and strange silvery shapes. "Where's the backyard?" I asked. "You're looking at it," said my father. "No," I said, "that's the night world. It's not for me." I knew I would go out and explore it when I was grown up, but not now. So a way of exploring that world without actually going out into the world too. So the night world.
Yeah. You talked about a cycle on that. Could we go to the next book? There's something that we've got about a cycle here. Water is water.
Oh, water is water.
So we
There
talked
is
about
a
the
cycle.
day cycle, how the night goes to the day and so on. And I liked this book because it's all about the water cycle. And yet it's done so poetically. It's just beautiful. It's got some biracial kids in there and everything about, we can go to one of the pages to read. You could even read it. "Drip, sip, pour me a cup, water is water, unless," And then it goes, it heats up. And so each stage that water can go through, it's beautifully done in a rhyme. So it could be a picture book, but it can also be a nonfiction book. I think it's a great book during this current thing of environmentalism, knowing where water comes from, how we need to take care of it, what happens to it. It's also part of the STEM, our science, technology, engineering, math. It's got things in the back to talk about the water cycle. I just thought it was really interesting the way they came up with the story.
And
tells
then about water is everything, and then how water is important, and that we have the same amount of water that we had billions of years ago that we have now, and but how does that happen when it's water and then it's ice and so and then it talks about how we are composed of, or other things like an apple is 84% water, and a baby is 78%, but we are about 65%. So lots of nice, interesting facts. So water is water, and the Night World talks about the cycles, but it also talks about being afraid, which is another book that you have.
Especially what you wrote in the back there. So Laura Vaquero Seeger has done some beautiful books, Dog and Bear, and she did the one about green. So they're great concept books and so on. In this case, she's talking about how she used to be afraid. She's got her signature artwork and illustrations in there, so that's recognizable. But it's great to see how this little young thing can resolve her fears, something that we hope that we can continue to do as we get older. The one fear she has is her brother.
Which
at the end, it still might be valid, but it's interesting to the way she changed the illustrations from one fear, and then you get a close-up of the spider was an example, and then you get a close-up of this beautiful web and everything else, and you realize, oh, that's actually quite pretty. Beautiful. It's pretty. I've seen spiders like that, and it gives you a different appreciation for things like that.
So we've kind of talked about our picture books and our board books, and that's for our little ones, but we have our little ones that are not quite reading yet, but we're also going to talk about our easy-to-read books, our beginning readers. And I know, Mary Jen, you had one that you especially wanted to talk about, Big Dog, Little Dog.
Yes. So this book by Dav Pilkey is not a new book. It's one that he published years ago, but this is a new edition that has a bunch of end matter, and it's really the end matter that sort of makes it shine. There are a lot of great questions. There are the sentences here. They've got the pictures on the left and the sentences on the right, and it's matched the picture with the corresponding sentence. It's got these great dog facts, like I didn't know that dogs sweat from their paws. And it's all these really interesting facts as well. And then just ways to sort of dig into the book a little bit more and investigate reading comprehension to see, to make sure that the child who is reading it really understands what's going on, and sort of matching the words and the pictures and in a bunch of different creative ways to get the kids really thinking. And it's just a great way to sort of re-tackle a really great book that is great for young readers.
And I think it also speaks to how our change of how we use our books and our beginner readers and our picture books are. It's not so much of just reading the book now as it used to be. It is now using the book and having a conversation and talking about the book. And research does show many of those things that's how children learn better. And I'm going to take an aside. The 30 million words, Building a Child's Brain, is on our parenting collection, and by Dana Suskin, and it talks to many of those things of the conversation and that back interaction, and not just talking to your child, but talking with the person. So waiting for them to respond back, and not just talk, but to interact. And very important brain research that has been done. And if you're interested in that, we've got 30 million words, Building a Child's Brain, that would be very helpful for you to see why some of these changes are happening in our publishing world. So let's go ahead. Chris, did you have an ETR that you would like to speak to?
I'd have to look and see which ones you had.
Should we bring out some of our Mo Willems?
Yeah, I was going to say the Mo Willems would always be favorites. They seem to be a big hit with the kids because they can read the words. Sometimes the words look like they might be a little more difficult, but there's so few on the page that they can have fun with it. And Elephant and Piggy have been huge favorites, again, with daycares and with
Yes.
those preschoolers. They just do the corniest things.
Well, and they are
So-
speaking to what they actually do. I mean,
Yeah.
it's very much speaking to who they are.
And I think in this one, it really sort of, what's great about the Elephant and Piggy books is the word balloons, and it makes the connection between what's pink is what Piggy says and what's gray is what Elephant says. But in this one in particular, it sort of goes beyond that, and Elephant is going down for a nap, and you can see that this looks a little bit different from the regular Elephant and Piggy books. You can see the background is sort of this greenish color, which is, it just sort of sparks a little something in regular readers' brains that, oh, maybe this isn't quite the same. And then, not to spoil the ending, but there's a reason that, the pages aren't just the plain white that they usually are. And so it sort of takes it to another concept for the kids to sort of get their brains around that, I'm using the illustrations to sort of think there's something else that's happening here. And I think that's sort of the brilliance of Mo Willems, is that he does it in such a simple way that kids can get it. And then when they get through to the end and they read it, they're like, oh, that's why it was like that. So I think that this is really great, and it sort of advances the series a little bit.
And it
because
goes
of that.
right along with that, trying to understand and reading comprehension as well,
Yes.
which she talked
Yes.
about in the other books.
Absolutely.
So this one happens to be about taking a nap, and no one's taking a nap right now. But you're right. If the working and subtly talking about introducing a new, and again, without giving the ending, you have to read the book. So I will take a nap, and it isn't just about napping. Well, maybe. So we're going to go ahead and to close with the wonderful things that you will be. And this book happens to be about having a baby and what that child is like for you and for the family, and what possibly things that they will go on and become. Very, very beautifully done illustration-wise, and sharing, different types of things that they'll do all through their lives and as they grow up, and then ending with and become anybody that you would like to be. And I think that's what our storybooks share with us, is that it provides us that opportunity to be anybody we want to be, and it's okay. So until next time, happy reading.